completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside.
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in so early in the afternoon. 12 noon my time here on the West Coast. 3 p.m. or a little after on the East Coast. Joe contacted me yesterday and said, look, man, I can't do the show at 3. I'm like, you got to do the show. No more fucking around.
That's how it went down?
That's how, in my mind. Okay, no, that's what I thought. And then you were like, we could do it later or we can do it earlier. My first thought was, this motherfucker. Again.
Shall we revert to the playback?
Yeah. I would like you to read that to the audience.
Let's see. No more meatloaf. That was today. So I can't do the show normal time on Friday for the reason listed. We can do the show early or late.
Okay. And like I said,
originally offered.
My first thought was, this motherfucker. And I just wrote.
Okay, well, I can't debate that.
And that's why I don't put that in writing. I put nothing in writing. I just put what time.
That's what you did. So
yeah. Because I don't want people to read my mind. That's why I don't have Alexa. Phone number is 888-659-3727. We are live from Los Angeles. Joe Tillman is live from Vancouver, British Columbia, and this is the Hair Loss Show. Bald Truth, the old school show, 24 years on the air in some form or another. I guess we're going on 25 years in June. Quarter of a century.
The silver anniversary.
Yeah, I was a very young man when I started this. When I actually,
still are a young man.
I'm a middle-aged man, but I'm youthful. But when I think about it, when I started this, I thought I was getting old. I'm like, oh man, I'm 30 years old before I got on the radio. And I didn't realize, and the reason I thought that is, when people are getting into broadcasting, they're right out of college, they're starting in, but they're like, they're working in the fucking mailroom, or they're an associate producer answering phones or whatever it is. They don't get on the air until they're in their 30s, if that. So the lesson for you young guys out there is, you're not getting old. You got plenty of time to get your shit together, because you never know what's going to happen in life. When I speak to younger people, even family members who are like 19 years old, and they're like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. They're depressed about it. They haven't figured it out. Mm-hmm. They want to figure out a way to sell merch on fucking, the internet or whatever it is. I'm like, do you know how much time you have left? If you live to the average life expectancy, you have another fucking, 55, 60 years to figure it out.
Another life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The pressure that they put on these kids is unbelievable. Anyway, I'm going off on a rant. This is the Hair Loss Show, guys. So if you have any questions or concerns about hair loss, this is the place to go. Our phone to come or to call. It's a call-in show. Phone number is 888-659-3727. I think I turned the phones on, but I don't have a single light lit yet. So I don't know if it's the time or what, but if you do not call the broadcast, if we receive no phone calls in the next 5 minutes or so, I'm just going to go and have lunch. It's a beautiful day.
I can't do that. I'd love to have. I don't even have lunch.
Why?
If it's a beautiful day or a shitty day, it doesn't matter.
Why is that?
That's how I roll, man. Always working, always rolling. Can't stop. Can't slow down. Got to keep pushing forward. It's such bullshit.
What is Spence? Can we get a 360 as they ask on TikTok?
I don't even know what that meant.
All these motherfuckers. It's funny. You can't just. And I'm just kidding. You're not a motherfucker, man. I get it. But it's especially younger guys, whatever. They can't just say, you know what? This guy's giving us good information. He's providing us insight on this industry. It's all about, we want to see your fucking head. That's it. Pull back your hairline. Let's see your bald spot. Maybe one day I will actually do a tutorial on Joe's channel on how I fucking paint my bald spot. Maybe that'll make you guys happy.
That would break the internet.
I gotta tell you, man.
Spencer, how-to tutorial, how to cover up your bald spot.
No, not how to cover it up. How to paint it.
Or how to paint it.
I don't like the euphemisms of cover up and all the fibers and all this shit. It's makeup. That's what it is. I'm putting makeup on my head, and I don't know why guys don't want to admit that. Hair system.
Babies born today.
Hair system. Euphemism for toupee now. And it's fine. I like the word.
Yes.
I like the term hair system. Cy Sperling came up with it. It was brilliant.
It was.
I think there's a negative connotation with toupee, and I think that's a really, that's just an archaic term.
But most young people don't even know what the hell a toupee is. It's not in the modern vernacular. You say a wig, obviously they know what that is, but I don't like. I think toupee has a chance for a comeback.
Let's bring back the toupee.
Let's bring back the toupee.
Let's make toupees great again.
I love it.
Oh my God! 888-659-3727. I know, and guys, hold on. I'm glad you're calling in. Hold on. As long as you hold on, we'll continue to do the show. But I know Joe wanted to speak about a particular subject today, and we can start that in brief, and then go on to the phone calls. So, guys, do hold on. We'll be with you in a minute.
Well, before today's topic, I need to circle back to last week's topic, where I put it in the title, but we never actually got to it. We were too inundated with phone calls, which is a great thing. Thank you very much. But last week, the title is Free Hair Loss Treatments or Medications for All. And the reason why I put that in the title is because I wanted to talk about this politician in Korea, South Korea, who is running on the campaign promise that if he's voted into office, all hair loss treatments will be paid for by the government.
Yeah.
Medical and maybe even surgical.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
I'm not sure if surgical was in there. But this guy actually has a chance. Like, last looking at the polls several days ago, he was in the lead. So people in South Korea rejoice because if this guy gets into office, you might have free hair loss treatments coming your way.
And that includes, we're talking about, we really focus on androgenetic alopecia. But even alopecia areata treatments, in general, they're not covered.
No.
And that's really fucked up. So I could tell you this. They talk about voting blocks, and I think it's unfortunate that in our society, in this country, that people are focusing on voting blocks, the Hispanic voting block, the Black African-American voting block, so on and so forth. Whoever captures the largest demographic of all humankind and comes out, like if Elon Musk came out tomorrow and said, I'm running for office, and my plan is I'm going to cure baldness during my first term.
Emperor of the world.
Yeah.
Emperor of the world.
Emperor of the world. And these guys don't understand that.
No. Because it's still a taboo subject, but apparently in South Korea, not so much.
Listen, if I was more,
I consider South Korea to be the cosmetic surgery capital of the world, so it kind of makes sense.
I would run for office, and I think I can win on that platform. Plus, I would have to take about 6 months to really study the world economy and everything that I need to know to be the leader of the free world. But the problem is, I'm not a morning person.
Yeah, it's that one thing, man. It's that one thing.
I'm not a morning person. To be the president of the United States, you got to be a morning person. And
that's why we can't have nice stuff.
That's right.
Spencer doesn't get up in the morning.
But as we really found out through the last year, you got to be a morning person. Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. Hold on for one more minute, guys. I know the lines are lit. We'll take your calls. But Joe has something else that he wanted to bring up, I think, if I remember correctly.
Well, yeah, I do, but it's basically just the potential for discussion for the show, and that is the top 25 list of hair transplant doctors worldwide for 2022, brought to you by our colleague, cohort in the UK, Spencer Specs Stevenson. I love this list for two reasons. One, it's just fun to see who he chooses. But number two, because of all the other doctors losing their shit as to why they weren't picked. And I think that is just beautiful.
Full disclosure, I haven't looked at the list yet, so let me look at it now, which I know that it would be remiss of me to try to have a conversation about this without knowing who the fuck is on the list. So,
well, as you're skimming, I'll go ahead and run through the list of doctors that are listed in here. Kind of makes sense. Doctors that are listed on the list. Let's see, blah, 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 lots of intro. Okay, so Dr. Scott Alexander in Phoenix, Arizona. Anderson Center for Hair. So he's got Dr. Anderson and his colleague, was it Dr. Lee, I think? Yeah.
Who, by the way, very, very few people know about Dr. Lee. Super nice guy, really involved guy, really wants to know every aspect of every nuance of this surgery. And he got into the field relatively later in life. Not that he's old, but, he's probably my age or something like that. Totally into it. Like, this guy will contact me with significant questions that the average guy who's been in the field for, say, even 10 years, they'll just gloss over. So I think that was a good pick.
That's cool. Dr. Alan Bauman, longtime IHRS member and friend of the show. Down in Boca Raton. We got Dr. Christian Bazanga. I think that's a great inclusion. He's a fantastic doctor. Dr. Aslan Beiser in Turkey. Really like this lady. I've known her for a couple years now and love talking to her. I think she's a great addition.
She's
actually in last year's list,
she's one of the few Turkish surgeons who are actually surgeons and actually can legally perform hair transplant surgery.
Yeah, absolutely.
People don't know that shit.
I love this. He's been in previous lists as well. Dr. Scott Bowden in Connecticut. I think he's a gem that a lot of people like. I talk to patients about him because I think that he's worth considering. Dr. Hakan Dagane in Antalya, Turkey. We got Bijan Faradouni in Belgium. Really like this guy's work. Super cool guy too. If you ever get a chance to have a beer with Dr. Faradouni, awesome guy. We got the Harley Street Clinic, obviously, because they're one of the preeminent places in London or in the UK. They've got a lot of high-profile patients. I've known the owner for years. Like he's also a patient, which is kind of cool, which makes him more relatable as far as I'm concerned. I like that. In Italy, we got Chiara Insulaco. I've known Chiara for years. I remember before she even got into the industry when she was first getting her feet wet with hair restoration. And she has really matured into a high-quality hair transplant surgeon. She trained for over a year in Georgia with Dr. Cole, IAHRS and hair transplant accepted member doctor. She's really come into her own. Glad to see her there. Dr. William Lindsay in Virginia.
So all of these people are they look like they're all in the IHS except for one.
I haven't seen which one.
I think
Dr. Patrick Mwamba, also in Belgium. He's great.
The Italian chick. I don't think she's ever applied.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. She's not. Here's a great new addition. I love this guy. I've done a video on him. He's a hair transplant accepted member as well. Hair transplant mentor accepted member. Dr. Aaron Nussbaum in Miami. This guy is surprisingly good. Like, he's young. He's in his mid-30s. I think he's 35 years old. He's been in hair restoration since he was 5 years old because of his father. I did a video about this. He used to come into the clinic when he was 5 years old, and he put Aaron to work just to keep him busy and out of the way, playing with a couple of hair follicles under a microscope. Literally, like, who does that? That's crazy. Another unknown gem, I think. This is her second year on the list. It's Dr. Alba Reyes. Again, IAHRS member. She's in Dominican Republic. She's a super nice lady, super good at what she does. Of course, Dr. Ron Shapiro, IAHRS member in Minnesota and hair transplant mentor member. We got Dr. Giza Sikos in Hungary. He's an interesting addition.
I'm going to interrupt you here for a second because I'm just thinking about it.
Yeah.
When I'm thinking about Alba Reyes, everyone is sadly traveling to Turkey to have inexpensive hair transplants. When there's a person in the DR who is significantly cheaper than in the U.S., you have a great vacation, and I hate to use that. I don't like the whole idea of cosmetic surgery tourism, but if you're going to make that choice and go for something that's less expensive, I mean, Dominican Republic's probably the way to go. And I think hookers are legal there too.
So you got your plane ticket to go visit?
Too late.
Alba Reyes, I think, is a great balance between pricing, if that's an issue for you, and quality, and not having to travel halfway around the world if you're in North America. Like, you're literally having a Bahamian vacation. Again, like you said, I don't like that combination either. But if that's what you're going for, that's the place to go.
I mean, it's like you can't really hang out in the sun unless you're wearing a hat because you're going to have a hair transplant. But I mean, Dominican Republic is if you're staying at the right, you got to really know where to go, and you got to stay at the right hotels and shit and the right resorts. But it's pretty fucking nice.
Yeah,
just saying.
And I hope to find out sometime. Let's see, we're on
and guys,
Dr. Sikos.
All the guys that hung up because Joe's going on and on about this, call back.
Just bear with us. Have some patience.
Yeah.
Please. Dr. Giza Sikos in Budapest, Hungary. I learned about him a few years ago. Really nice guy, like one of the nicest guys I think in the industry. And based on what I've learned about him in the kind of behind the scenes, really dedicated to his craft. And yeah, so I'll just leave it at that. Like, he's a great addition. He's been on there a few years already.
Yeah.
You got True and Dorn Medical Group in New York. They've been on there for a few years as well, which is Dr. Dorn and Dr. True. And then associate IAHRS member in Bangkok. This is his second, maybe third year on the list. Dr. Thidawat. I just call him Dr. Thidawat because seriously, I'm supposed to pronounce his last name? That's not happening. But he's really good at what he does in Thailand. Like his work. Next one, another new member or new nominee for this list, Dr. Joseph Yeager, IAHRS member, hair transplant mentor, accepted member in Plano, Texas. If you don't know anything about Plano, it's a suburb of Dallas. He's a super great addition to this list. I really like this guy, love his work, and I'm glad to see him on the list.
There's no doubt in my mind that he is the most, not only an up-and-comer, he's the best doctor in the area. I mean, there are other doctors in the area.
Hands down.
But this guy is just, he's thoughtful, and that's important for a physician. He's not out there to just make a buck. Everyone in this industry wants to make money, but you can just tell that he's a genuine guy. He turns patients away all the time. He's not trying to upsell you some shit, or inject anything to your face or whatever. And
while you're having a hair transplant.
Right, while you're having a hair transplant. And it's just he's just a nice dude, and he's also young. And I emphasize that because, you know, they're really, I mean, I would say a lot of the guys in, first of all, in that state, but a lot of the guys in the industry, the usual suspects, I mean, they are at the point where they're not as interested, in my view, as doing a great job as they once were.
Yeah.
They're tired. They're
I would agree with that. Yeah.
tired of hustling hair. We need young blood, new guys who are into it, who really want to build their practices, and who do the work themselves for the most part, or at least know how to.
It's sad that that's a requisite now. It's like knowing how to actually do the work.
It's fucking pathetic.
It is pathetic. It really is. But yeah, congratulations, Dr. Yeager, for making the list. And then we've got Dr. Amir Yazdan, also IHRS accepted member down in Newport Beach, California. He's been on the list for, I think, since it started, or maybe the second year after it started. And he's a solid choice. Good guy, too. I like talking to him. And then finally wrapping this up, bringing up the tail end, is Svetlin Zarev in Bulgaria. Everyone loves this guy because he's putting out these before and after cases of bald as hell to, 13,000 grafts later. And I don't like saying full head of hair, but looking like a full head of hair.
Yeah.
Obviously, not everyone can get these kinds of results as far as patients go, but he's a guy that has really studied the donor area, which is key to getting so many grafts successfully without depleting the donor area. And that's the other issue. Like, the donor area is all that matters when you're trying to get that many grafts for the long term. I can't say the only thing that matters, but there's a balance. When you get that many grafts, like anyone can take 13,000 grafts out of someone's scalp. It's making it look like it hasn't been taken out of the scalp is the key. And he's figured it out. He's explained a little bit of it to me. It makes a lot of sense, like it's kind of common sense once you realize it. But kudos to him for being on the list again. I'm glad to see him on here, and I support that listing. So that's it. That's the top 25 according to Spencer Speck Stevenson, co-host of the Bald Truth UK. And yeah, I just want to talk about that. And you guys calling in, you can ask about any of these people. We can talk about this list. If you want to talk about something else, that's fine too. But I thought it was worth mentioning.
Yeah, and the good news, it gave me time to wish everybody on Facebook a happy birthday.
There you go. Good job. Right on. See, it's a win-win.
Yeah. Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. Every fucking line is open again. They were all lit just, 30 minutes ago. So call in.
30 minutes.
Call in. Joe, I don't think Joe appreciates that. I only give shit to the people I love. One thing I learned in life is anyone who really is like fucked up in some way, you can't give shit to. Only strong individuals and people you love.
That's what my wife says to me all the time. There must be some truth to it.
There is some truth to it. So yeah, guys, we'll take your calls. And if you don't call back, if you don't call in in a couple of minutes, I'm just going to take the rest of the day off. This is a call-in show. That's why we do it. We're not here just to do a fucking podcast. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And honestly, it would make my life easier just to kind of bring on guests, to have long-form podcasts. But I value being able to speak to people directly, answer your questions, kind of give you guys insight into the reality of this industry. We are two guys, and Joe said this, and it's interesting. I never really thought about it. But, Joe's essentially a guy, he's a YouTuber as well. And he really is the only guy who is a YouTuber who's actually in the fucking industry. And he's had 9 hair transplants, which is crazy. 10 hair transplants. Specs had 9. 10 hair transplants. And, I'm a guy who is in a unique position of knowing everything that goes on this industry, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The reality is that we know where all the bodies are buried. most of what you see online, and take this in the spirit that it's meant to everyone else who's putting stuff online, is bullshit. And there's an ulterior motive, and that's to sell you some bullshit. Or maybe not always bullshit, but to sell you some shit. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's why people do this. I was lucky enough to find a way many, many years ago not to have to sell anything to the public. I never sold a fucking mug or a T-shirt or a Dermapen or any fucking, happy horse shit like that. My books were published by major publishers, and they sold the books. And yeah, did I get compensated for that? Of course. I'm a fucking author. That's what happens. But I'm not out there selling products. You don't even hear me promoting books on the air. That's just essentially part of my, my credentials. That's who I am. Why?
I'm just remembering a conversation I had with someone that claimed he said that he was a hair transplant journalist. I was like, a journalist? What do you mean you're a journalist? He goes, no, I'm a journalist. I'm like, okay, what have you written that classifies as being journalism? He goes, I was quoted in an article in 2003. And he claims he's a journalist.
Is this somebody we both know?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So he's the guy with journalistic integrity.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Yeah.
Tell you the fucking
He's a journalist because he was quoted in an article that no one ever saw.
To the characters that I have met in this field, it's unfucking believable. It's overwhelming when you really think of, especially, I mean, there's a whole new group of characters, but the OG characters, the original guys, when I got into this field, Jesus, you've never seen, no, you guys wouldn't even understand. And the amount of information that people got from these characters, especially back between, I'd say, the year 2000 and maybe 2007 or 2008, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Before social media, when these online platforms and forums were social media, fucking crazy. I would watch this information being manipulated in real time. And then watch all the fucking prey fall for this shit. It didn't matter what we said. I mean, it did. Listen. I've kept the program close to my vest for various reasons. One very important reason, which I will speak about eventually. But my goal has always been, and my idea or my thought process has always been, if we reach 1,000 people a week, 2,000 or 3,000 people a week, or if I upload something once in a while to Spotify or to iTunes, and that gets 30,000 downloads, I'm doing my job. Because at least these people, if they're smart, are going to say, wait a second, what's this all about? Is this true? Let me do some more research. Let me find out. Let me maybe do some more due diligence before I get my fucking scalp cut open. And don't think just because you're getting FUE that you're not getting your scalp cut open. You may not have a gaping wound, but your scalp is being cut open. And if you get enough of those...
It's actually a larger surface area that's been opened up on the scalp, graft for graft, than with an equal size FUT surgery.
And if you get enough punctate wounds in any area of the scalp, the connective tissue and the wounds and the skin between those wounds, they could break down. No one talks about that stuff, especially, no one talks about this either. If you're putting certain topical medications on your scalp on a regular basis, that tissue becomes much more fragile. I'm a guy who has talked about this for a long time, but if you are using, say, Minoxidil, and you're a long-time user of topicals with Minoxidil, when you go in for a hair transplant, your skin is slightly degraded. It is not as strong. And we could check the signs on this. I'm not a doctor, and I could talk to some doctors about this, maybe bring them on the air. But the potential and the quality of your hair transplant can be compromised just by long-term use of, in my view, the topical Minoxidil.
I'll tell you what Victor Hassan when I was working for him, told me years ago. He said that when you're using minoxidil for a long enough period of time, the difference in skin tissue versus healthy normal skin tissue, it's like gristle on a cooked steak. It's almost like you can break it compared to being pliable like normal skin.
Well, and what I've learned over the years is, you know, when you're seeing online, you know, the physicians being blamed for necrotic tissue and all this stuff, if you really dig deep and you ask, well, how long have you been using minoxidil? A lot of the guys who end up getting necrosis have been using it for over 5 years or more.
Yeah.
And it's just like, maybe that should be a question the physicians should ask. I don't think most physicians even ask that, like, or worry about it. Let's put it that way. So, and here's for you doctors who are listening. If your patient is young, been on minoxidil for over 3 or 4 or 5 years, you might want to reconsider doing really your initial pass with dense packing. See how the first pass goes, and then go in between the hairs, and and let the patient know it's possible that your skin is more fragile. It's possible we're going to end up getting more issues, more tissue damage, possible necrotic tissue. I don't know why doctors aren't talking about that at all. You know what? Maybe I'll have Victor on the show to talk about that. That's a good idea.
Yeah. I like it.
Give that guy a call. 888-659-3727. Okay, calls, lines are lit. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, I can, yeah. It's Sam from Wellington.
Sam from Wellington. Where's the fuck is Wellington?
Yeah, coming at you from the windiest city in the world, in New Zealand.
Wow.
Oh, New Zealand. I didn't hear the accent at first. Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea what Wellington is. Well, New Zealand, that's really awesome, man.
Yeah, it's the windiest city in the world, so like the worst place for a receder.
Oh my God, is it that windy?
Like the wind here, it takes the roofs off houses. Like no amount of hairspray holds your.
Well, don't forget there's also you got underwater volcanoes to contend with that are blowing high winds and tsunamis your way. So, I feel for you.
Oh yeah, but at least like the ash and stuff would cover my hair. So,
that's a good filler.
That's natural.
There you go.
Man. Good for you.
I would like to trade my city in for a full head of hair. I'm sorry, everybody. But,
I'm glad you have a good sense of humor about it. So what's up, man?
Hey, so I just got a question about Topic and concealers.
Yeah.
So it's pretty disgusting, but I only wash my hair like maybe once a week, and like I put on concealer like every day. And I know Joe has said before, like, you should always wash it out every day.
Yes.
And, but it, like, creates, like, a nice layer. It's pretty disgusting, but, the more you put on.
So essentially what you're doing is you're letting your sebum and your sweat and the Topic kind of mix together, and eventually you just kind of have, like, this helmet of hair fibers.
Yeah. It's disgusting. That's right, yeah. But my hair looks so good. I just put like the what's the shampoo, in the spray bottle? Like
and
every
smells wonderful.
Dry shampoo.
Say that again?
And then put on some hairspray that has, it's like a salt spray. And it gives like texture. But I know it's pretty disgusting, but do you think that could cause issues with hair growth and that sort of thing?
We're both not physicians, but I can tell you that I do believe that it's not going to cause. Here's the thing: it's really not going to penetrate your scalp. It's not going to necessarily cause issues with hair growth, but it could cause issues and create inflammatory effects to your scalp that could then affect potential hair growth. Now, if you're not having any reaction to it, if you're able to, when you wash it out, if it's not like really red and inflamed, then you're probably okay. But, I'm not a believer in, you can put cement on your fucking head, and if that hair is going to grow, it's going to grow. But as soon as you cause some sort of inflammatory effect, then you can affect hair growth.
In my experience, I've seen this where I had a patient I was dealing with one time. He came into the clinic, and he had that exact same, like his scalp was in the same situation that you're talking about, where he would keep the topic on for days and even weeks at a time. And he actually developed a low-grade topical inflammation where he had a lot of folliculitis. He had a lot of ingrown hairs. And the scalp itself was chronically miscolored. It was red once it was all cleaned off because it was constantly fighting what it saw as infection or created infection through what it saw as foreign bodies. And so there's a lot of cleanup on the scalp. Eventually, he was actually turned down for surgery because it was too much of a hot zone, if you will. And I don't know if it caused any sort of issues with hair loss, but I can see it causing a potential degradation in hair volume if you're in this situation over time. It would take a lot to get it there. But I would highly recommend you find an alternative way of using concealers. In fact, maybe even switch the type from Topic to more of a makeup base like Dermatch, something that you can use. It creates that undercover more effectively than Topic, depending on how much hair you have.
But if
you can also wash it off.
But if he's not washing his hair every day, then that could be even worse. Like my whole thing is like, why not wash your hair every day? What's the big deal?
Because it takes ages in the morning to style it, and when it's wet, you got to let it dry. And I like my sleep, yo.
Dude, listen, yo, get up earlier. Get up a little earlier, yo. What's the big deal? Get some discipline. Get up early, make your fucking bed, and wash your hair.
Okay, Jordan Peterson.
I was just gonna say, Jordan Peterson, clean your room.
Clean your room. Look what I did today. I got about 5 hours sleep. That's not good for an old timer. But I had to get up early, work, and do this show. I didn't want to do it. And you know what that entails? Doing my hair, painting my head. I can't just throw a hat on. Normally in the morning, what I do is I get up, maybe I'll work out, throw my hat on, run my errands, do what I got to do work. I can work with my hat on all day. I have to go through the process. So, yeah, man, I would say that for the long term, it's probably not going to be the best thing for your scalp.
Yeah, I have a hair transplant booked for June of this year. So it'll only be for like another few months.
Where are you going?
And then, so I had a surgery booked in at Eugenics with Dr. Pradeep in 2019.
Yeah.
And then COVID came. Yeah, so that got like pushed out and postponed, and still we're on the banned list in India. It's like political. There's like about 8 countries on the banned list, and New Zealand's one of them, even though we have like no cases.
Yeah.
So it is booked in for June of this year. It's just, I don't know how I'm going to get it. I might talk to Adrian. I know he's over there. Who called the show last week.
Yeah.
He's quite active on the forums, so I might drop him a message. I have to like fly to Australia and then go from there. But yeah, we'll make it happen.
You gotta fucking sneak into the country, man.
Yeah. I'm white as milk though, so yeah.
Dude, get a tan. Get someone to smuggle you in. Isn't that wild? I'm not even joking. What a world we're living in now. Jesus.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It really is nuts.
It's nuts here. Like, you got to wear a mask everywhere to go into the supermarket, and we've got this vaccine pass situation. So to go anywhere, you have to show these people your pass, and it shows your full name and your date of birth. So any total random stranger to get into, like, a club or a bar or a restaurant, you show them your phone, and then they know your date of birth, they know your full name.
Yeah, same thing in Canada.
Phone, using an app, it's like, if there's a
same thing here.
Boris Johnson just made a decision to cut all that shit out. No more green passes. No more, no more mask mandates. All that stuff. And I kind of think that in time, other countries are going to realize, you know what? Maybe that is the way to go. So let's just hope that this isn't. You think when you're giving up your freedoms in general, you can never, once you give them up, you can never get them back. But I think in this particular instance, the way that the pandemic is becoming an endemic, is that what it's called, Joe? Endemic?
Endemic is when it's just,
Right.
give up. It's done.
Right.
Can't do anything about it.
I think things are going to change for many reasons, including political reasons. So let's just hope. I mean, listen, living here in Los Angeles, it's like, you know, they want to see your fucking papers too. That's the way it is. So, but anyway, listen, man, good luck.
Cool. I just want to say thank you so much for all your work. I've been on taking finasteride for over 2 years now. And it works, yo.
Yeah.
It really works. You just got to give it time. It was only after like a year of taking it I really noticed the difference. Because I don't think I ever like checked my hairline before taking finasteride. I'd only ever look at my hair in the perfect light and only using one mirror at home that I knew was like had good, you know, angles and that sort of thing. And then I started taking finasteride, and then every single day I'm in the mirror checking my hairline.
Well, listen,
and then
it does work.
After been taking it 2 years now, and after like the first year, I was like, yeah, this shit works, and I can just pop a pill in the morning. It's really cheap here. It's subsidized. I get the generic, and it's only about $20 for a whole year's supply.
Wow. Well, I'm really happy for you, man. I'm glad that you're doing well on it, and I'm assuming that you've had no adverse effects.
I did at the start. I think a lot of people, they give up too early. I definitely felt sides in the first few months, but I just saw it out. And then after about month 4 or 5, just felt totally normal. It could have been a little bit of nocebo, but you got to give it time and trust the process.
Okay.
Well, I'm really glad for you, man. I wish you the best. I wish you the best of luck. And I mean, I again, to get back to your original question, the only issues that I can see is inflammatory issues. If you wash it out, you notice your hair, your scalp's not red, or you're not having any issues, you're probably going to be fine. But it's always best to try to keep it as clean a scalp as possible.
Yeah, I cut dairy out of my diet last year sometime, and I've always had like a dandruff and dry skin. And after cutting dairy out, it's helped so much.
That's great.
Yeah, and I don't get the dandruff or the is it not cellulitis?
Cellulitis, isn't that something to do with like? Isn't that have something to do with
fat.
Like fat? Yeah, like cellulitis.
Oh, sebderm.
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking of. Sebderm.
Seborrheic dermatitis. Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted.
So after you cut out
wanted
your
to respond to that.
After you cut out dairy, you can look at cutting out sugar too.
Oh no.
No? Okay.
I love sugar.
Can't ask for everything. Can't have everything. I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that should. I'm glad that helped. Good for you.
Yeah, it did. It absolutely did. Yeah, I used to get a lot of dry skin like around my nose and under my eyes. It's totally gone.
That's fucking awesome. See, I mean, diet is everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought diet
Nutrition.
would fix
Don't
my
say
hair loss.
diet,
I
say
remember
nutrition.
when I was 23, I discovered the hair loss, and I only got on finasteride a couple of years ago, age 27. But I remember Googling hair growth things, food and supplements, and one of the things was zinc. And then I Googled, what's a good food with a lot of zinc in it? And it said oysters. So I went down to the supermarket and I bought like about 10 cans of canned oysters. And I just remember sitting there at my desk with chopsticks, eating oysters out of the can.
This guy eats with sticks.
And yeah, I'll never forget that. And that was until I did some more.
I was waiting for that.
Like, no, that the diet is not going to fix it. But I said to the guy, point me in the direction of the canned oysters, please. And then I bought the whole lot. And I think I've still got a couple of cans in the back of my cupboard. But didn't do a damn thing.
Well, you're committed.
That's commitment.
Yeah, that is commitment, man.
I'm into the long game. It's a long game.
How old are you?
Well said.
I'm 29.
It is a long game, man. A very long game. So, yeah.
And I sort of think, if I only had gone on finasteride at 23, then I wouldn't have to get this transplant. But then saying that, there's people at 35 thinking, I wish I had gone on at 32, and people at 40 saying, I wish I had gone on at 35. So,
yeah.
Going at 27 and
my wish for everybody,
shoulda, coulda.
My wish for everybody is to kind of listen to stories like this. We are not here to tell you that you absolutely have to take medication, but it's important that people kind of get a complete view of what this medication can do for you. I understand the reality of potential adverse side effects. I understand the reality of what's now termed as post-finasteride syndrome, which is, no matter how much they're banging that drum, it's still relatively rare. Now, I'm not saying that's a great thing. It fucking sucks if it happens to you. But there are literally millions of guys like yourself who started using medication and have been able to not only slow the progression of hair loss, but even reverse hair loss. And if you're going to have a hair transplant, I was speaking to a doctor the other day. I mean, he says it's unusual that he will transplant the patient unless they're at the very least using a topical finasteride. And I think that's going to be the new protocol for a lot of the doctors in the coming years.
So they want to protect their work.
They want to protect their work, obviously, but I think that the really caring doctors are like, you know what, you're not a candidate. This is a situation where you need to slow or stop the progression. And if you're on this medication, you have the best chance of this hair transplant lasting you for decades. And that's it, including your donor.
Yes.
The one question I have about topical finasteride, I was asking somebody about this the other day, is the donor region. If it's not being applied to the donor region, then you're losing the benefits of finasteride being taken and going throughout your body systemically. And this doctor said, well, if he notices that a patient has a weakened donor area, he recommends doubling the amount used and rubbing it into the donor area as well. He's the first guy that ever said that. So you're on the right track, man. You're on the right track. I'm going off on a tangent, but I wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much for listening and, providing your journey.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll call back again later in the year after I've had my surgery and let you know how that went.
Do.
Yeah, let us know how it goes. And you know what? Pradeep's head's getting a little bit big for him, so don't take any pictures with the guy.
And don't do the photos where you're pointing at each other as if we can't see. See each other standing there. God, I hate that. It all started with some of those clinics in Turkey, the hair mills, and now everyone's doing it.
And if he asks you to hold the book and take a picture, really think about that, because that's going to be on the internet for the rest of your life. All right, my man. Good luck.
Yeah. Cool. I just want to say, thanks so much for the advice. And I've always thought, Spencer, you're like the Dave Ramsey of hair loss.
Oh.
People call him with the same problems. You give the same advice and have made a career out of that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, man. To me, that is a huge compliment. You take care.
Hey, no worries, boys.
Okay.
You have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Dave Ramsey of hair loss. I like it.
I don't give the same advice. I keep changing it just to keep things interesting.
Yeah, you're just like, you basically want you want the control group. You give them the bad advice.
No, that's the fun group, not the control group.
Not the control group. Guys, 888
see if they actually do it.
659-3727. So many birthdays on fucking Facebook. Like, I don't put my birthday on that shit. I don't want to have to deal with that.
What do you have to deal with? People saying happy birthday.
I don't want.
Respond. You just do one post 2 days later saying thanks everyone for the birthday wishes.
Done. I don't want anybody, even if they're connected to me, to know my birthday if they don't have to.
Well, get them to stop asking me because I've been telling everyone.
Yeah. Had a guy who called in who's like, I like to update your Wikipedia page. I'm like, don't touch my Wikipedia page, even though I guess he's some editor over there. He's like, well, your date of birth and your place of birth. I don't want you guys to know that shit. We live in a fucking evil world. Haven't you gotten that through your head yet?
Yes.
I mean, God almighty. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
It's Morty from Brooklyn.
Morty from Brooklyn.
Hello, Morty.
He does that sing-songy thing. It's Morty from Brooklyn.
Yeah. Well, I kind of was resisting calling because it's early, number one. And number two is I'm sure you guys are sick and tired of hearing me because I call them like freaking clockwork.
No, I'm not sick. I'm personally not sick and tired of you. Our audience is, but I'm not.
And what does the time have to do with you calling in or not? If we're early, why would you not call because we're early?
Well, no, the other side of it is I might not call because I'm not expecting it. But hey, here you guys are, so how can I not? So there you go. It's actually works better for me because I usually need to go to my mom for dinner, and early means I get to call before I have to head out. So that's a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah, man, doing good. Good week so far. The folliculitis is it's calming slowly. And the hair is actually starting to grow, which is impressive considering the timing. It's like it's
nice.
Such a pleasant feeling to be able to get up in the morning and look in the mirror and see just a little bit more hairs than you had before. It feels so good.
It really is.
It really does.
It really is. Yeah. Good for you. Good for you. I love that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like when I first started on finasteride. I remember I'd call in and I'd be like, and looking in the mirror, things are looking a little better. I remember sending you guys a picture of my Florida driver's license, and you guys getting upset because I had to find information on it. But the fact that I had this little forelock, which I didn't have before, and and how happy I was that I actually had a picture of this little tuft of hair.
Actually, reminds me. I'm going to blow it up. I'm going to blow it up. I'm going to take it to. Does Kinko still exist? Take it to like a Kinko's, put it on a foam board, and have it right behind me for the entire show.
I was going to say, put it right behind us.
Yeah.
Right here.
Oh no! But I mean, that's how long you have been dialing into the show. Is that I've since moved to Florida and then moved back, and we've been chatting up the whole time, and I'm so glad that you guys are there like clockwork. Always there for us Norwoods like myself, and appreciate every one of these shows.
Rob, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm just reading the chat. Rob Helner wants to know if I have a mirror in front of me because I just did a face check in his opinion. There's no mirrors in front of me. I don't even know what a fucking face check is. But I do.
To make sure that you're gorgeous self, Spencer, which obviously you are. So there you go.
Well, thank you very much. I do look at monitors and stuff, but with my microphone in front of me, I really can't see anybody except for Joe.
I guess.
But keep in mind, we can do the face check just by looking on screen. Like we can see exactly what's going on.
Oh yeah,
so we don't need mirrors.
Yeah, I guess I would if I were to do a face check. I'd be like looking directly here and be like something like that. I don't know how to do a face check.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, just calling to say hey and to give a thumbs up to this new time slot if you choose to keep it.
I don't know. I mean, it depends. Right now, I'm looking at the number watching. It's a little lower than usual, but I think that if we promote it, I don't mind doing it at 12 noon. Get that shit over with.
I don't either, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Because as Ladios in the chat room said, the people in the EU appreciate it being early. It's 8 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, which is like 9 p.m. in Europe.
I was going to say something that would have made me laugh, but people don't understand the joke sometimes. I was going to say fuck the Europeans, but I don't mean it. It was just a joke. It's just the way my 12-year-old mind works.
That's 12-year-old mind.
Yeah. So Morty, but I'm really glad that you're doing well. My hope is that in 6 months or in 8 months you could be like, you know what? This is a really good decision that I made. As opposed to, you know what? This is a really bad decision that I made.
You know what, Spence? I could tell you this. As of right now, I still think it's a good decision. And let me tell you something. If nothing else happens at all. If I stay exactly as I am right now, it's still a good decision because I did all my research and I listened to you guys and I crossed all my T's and dotted all my I's. And as you've told us many times, is you get to pick the best doctor in the world, you still might not get the result that you want. And to me, and I said this last week, to me the most important thing was don't look like a freak. Don't look like you were butchered, and I don't currently.
So you're telling me Cole guaranteed that you wouldn't look like a freak?
There was no guarantee of that.
I'm just kidding.
We had such a great segment for the next YouTube short, and you fucked it up by saying, "You mean cold it and say you're going to be fucked?" It's like, I was waiting for that 1 minute. It's like we were right there, and then Spencer had to jump in and just ruin it. Can you repeat that, please? Just go back and say everything you just said. No, I'm just kidding. No, go ahead, though.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I will. I don't give a shit.
No, I'm not asking you to repeat it. Just keep going.
Okay. No, I mean, there's really nothing else to say except thanks to you guys for doing what you're doing, and just letting you know that I'm here listening, and shout out to Graham, who, thanks to the show, is a really good friend of mine from Down Under, which, we're friends from outside the show. I think this is not just a show for hair loss sufferers. It's a community, and it's a community which is a healthy, growing community, and I thank you guys for building it. And
that's what we do here. We bring people together.
Yeah.
We're the kings of the sufferers.
Yeah. Well, you know what? With you guys as kings, we suffer just a little less, so that's good.
That was really good. I'm going to keep that and use that, Morty. Thank you so much. All right, dude.
You're welcome.
All right, you take care. Have a great weekend.
You too,
Morty. Okay, bye-bye.
Take care, Joe.
888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. King of the Sufferers. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Oh, this is Tara Lewis.
Who's this?
Tara Lewis. Tara?
Tara?
Yeah.
Where are you calling from, Tara?
I'm calling from Los Angeles.
Okay. What can I do for you?
And, okay, I basically have this question. I went to 3 different hair restoration surgeons, and I have thinning hair on the top. And so the first doctor...
Let me ask you a couple. Let me ask you a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
Are you a man or a woman?
I'm transgender.
Okay, so you're transgender. So you're trying to get a female hairline and get some hair back that you lost as a man.
I have all of that done. It's just that at the part at the top, at the very top, where the part is, it's pretty thin up there.
Okay.
And so the first doctor was telling me that my hair was overall, the hair texture is pretty thin, and he was recommending potentially just to go on to some type of like PRP medications or those injections. He was concerned that if they did a hair transplant, not so much the hair itself, but the existing hair around that you would do the transplant next to it would suffer from shock.
Yeah, and that's actually that's a really responsible call of this physician. Who was it?
Okay, so I understand that the hair that you transplant is going to go into full shock, but the concern was that the hair around the transplant would go into shock.
That's called shock loss.
And it would also,
when you have surgery, when you have hair transplant surgery, one of the biggest risks that you're taking is if you have a decent amount of native hair, losing that native hair to the trauma of the surgery, shock loss. And it's more common than people really talk about.
Mm-hmm. So the concern, like you're saying, was the trauma, but the concern. So, but also not just the trauma to the hair, but the trauma to the hair, the existing hair around the transplant that would go into trauma. That hair also could potentially not come back.
That's true.
Meaning it would just be. Mm-hmm. So you could actually be worse off with the surgery than not doing the surgery.
Correct.
Potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought what you would get, basically the hair that you transplant would then go into shock. It would fall out and it would come back. But this doctor was saying that the hair around it could also fall out and it would kill that hair.
That's right.
So you could have. Mm-hmm. So you're worse off at the end of the day. Or maybe the hair that you transplanted would come, but then the hair around it would be dead, so it wouldn't come back. So. Is that a major concern?
Yes. If the physician told you that he believes or she believes that you might be more susceptible to shock loss, the very fact that they're unwilling to transplant you based on that assessment for your particular situation, it's a major concern.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the next doctor, and he's actually in Beverly Hills, he said no problem that he would transplant it, and he would do it, I guess it seemed like he was going to do it with full-length hairs or something.
Let me ask you a question.
But it was extremely expensive.
In your opinion, does being in Beverly Hills make him a better hair transplant surgeon?
In his case, actually the answer is probably yes in his case, because if you look at all his Google reviews, he's got 5.0 on everything. And but he was also extremely expensive, but he was the only one that said, I can really do it.
Well,
I don't know.
Here's the thing.
So,
I'm in Beverly Hills. My office and my studio's in Beverly Hills. I'm not the best broadcaster in the world. You know why I'm in Beverly Hills? Because I could afford to have my office in Beverly Hills. That's it. That's the way life works.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Can I mention this doctor's name? Because he seemed really good. Can I mention it over there?
You can mention anybody's name you want.
Sure.
Okay, he seemed really good. He was the best one I went to. I went to 3 people. His name was Mark, S-D-A-U-E-R.
Mark Dower.
Dower, yeah. He seemed like
Mark is very good. Mark is actually excellent. And he works. He works a lot. He works with a lot of women. He works with a lot of transgender patients. He does incredible eyebrows as well. And he's pretty meticulous. I mean, he's doing that work and going in between those hairs himself. So, you know, I do trust his assessment in general. In general. So go ahead, finish your thought.
So here's the thing. So he was the only one, but he was the only one that says, you're an excellent candidate. Forget the other 2 people, what they were saying. No problem with the shock. I can do it. But he was really expensive.
Who are the and who are the other people?
The other person, I think his name was Sean or something. It's on Santa Monica Boulevard. And
Sean Benham. Sean Benham, yes, very honest guy.
He didn't. He just said, like, he was more towards, let's just do like, let's not do the surgery. Let's try to do like, what's it, the PRP or PC? What are those numbers that they do? The injections?
PRP.
PRP. Want to do the PRP? So let's do that. So he laid out like a really expensive, whatever you want to call it, like a procedure or a formula for me. He said, I'd rather spend the money on a hair transplant than spend my money on the PCP or PRP treatments. So,
well, PCP wouldn't be a bad idea, but PRP is what
that make it more enjoyable.
Yeah,
PRP, you might not even care about your hair.
Yeah, PRP. PRP is what they're offering.
I'm sorry. Yeah, PRP. Yeah. PRP. Okay, so
yeah, go ahead. Listen, this is a radio show, man. Well, it's not a radio show anymore, but so we're just fucking around with you. But yeah, we just want to give you the best possible response and help you to make a better informed decision.
Okay, so Bart, his price was $15K to do it.
How many grafts?
1,200.
Yeah, I mean that's reasonable in Los Angeles.
Oh, really?
I mean, he's right here in Century City. I mean, he's very close to me.
Exactly.
You know, and
okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and you know this is what you're going to get in Century City, Beverly Hills. These are the prices for the better, well-heeled surgeons.
I want to interrupt and let you know the different kinds of shock loss that any hair transplant patient can be susceptible to from the surgery alone, because there are other kinds of shock loss as well. But what happens when you have surgical shock loss, and we're talking about the recipient area here, where the doctor is going to be placing the grafts, you have transsectional shock loss, which means that when the incision, the cut, is being made into your scalp, that tool that's being used, whether it being a small blade or a needle, can transect the neighboring hairs that are nearby that the place where that new hair is going to be placed, right? So it's simply damaging the native hair that's next to where the new hair is going to be placed. It depends on how dense your native hair is. Okay, so there's surgical shock loss from transection. But there can also be surgical shock loss just because the blood flow in that area is interrupted too much, because your hair follicles depend on blood flow to get their nutrients to continue to do what they do, grow. And if the blood flow is compromised too much from the blood vessels being cut from the incisions, and I mean that's why you bleed during a hair transplant. Little blood vessels and capillaries are being severed, and they just they heal and return to normal fairly quickly. But when you have this interruption of blood flow, it triggers the state of the telogen state of hair, which is when your hair falls out. And we don't know why. It's just the way it works. So those are the two kinds of shock loss that you can get. If a doctor is telling you that you're not going to get shock loss, you have to turn around and say, well, which kind? Because if they can say, well, you're not going to, like, I'm confident enough that your incisions are not going to be close enough to native hair that I'm going to damage those native hairs, then that's fine. That comes down to experience and really great eye-hand coordination and judgment. But I don't believe that any doctor should say that shock loss absolutely will not happen, full stop, if you have native hair in the immediate vicinity, because I don't feel like any doctor can understand just how much of an interruption of blood flow is going to occur, because they can't see the vasculature of your scalp at the surface of the skin, just under the surface. So I think that regardless of what any doctor tells you, the potential for shock loss still exists regardless of what they tell you.
Okay, well, here's what Sean was saying. Sean said, look, I have to shave the area no matter what. If I don't shave the area, I really can't do a good job. I need to shave that area out. I don't think Dr. Drazier, or whatever his name is, I don't think he's talking about shaving the area. Dower. I don't think he's talking. I mean, I don't want the area shaved. So Sean was saying, look, I got to shave that area out so I can do a nice job there. So that was part of this. So so no matter what, that area would have to potentially be shaved out, and that's kind of what I'm trying to fight against. But Dr. Dower guy, he was saying that he does these long hair transplants where he can actually just kind of weave them in, and he gets good results. So I don't know, you know.
Well, let me ask you a question. The method of extraction, was he going to you do a strip harvesting, or are you paying, or was he saying FUE, long hair FUE? Downer was saying FUE. Right.
Sean was saying with a strip, cutting a strip out the back.
Okay. Now, just so you know, most women and transgender women are going to want to wear their hair longer. So it's in general, they make better candidates for strip harvesting, and women who have hair transplants in general. The reason for that is you're able to hide that scar, even if it's a slightly widened scar with the longer hair. When you have strip harvesting, even though it initially is more invasive, you do have a greater chance of being able to dissect those hairs out in a fashion that's going to keep them intact, pure follicular units or bundles, and move more hair and have the potential for, even if you need more hair transplants, to move more hair in the long run. So sometimes having a strip surgery for your first surgery is the way to go in case you need to utilize more of your donor hair. When you have FUE surgery, you have to spread out those punctate wounds so that you don't look like you have this buckshot effect or this, help me with the word, Joe, this dithered effect in the back of your scalp.
I like the buckshot look. Yeah, that works.
So Dr. Dower would have to really take hair from all over the donor area in a very uniform way, so it doesn't look like that donor area is thinning out or moth-eaten. That's the word. That's the term.
I would say a non-uniform way. You want to be non-uniform.
Yes.
Well, uniform creates a pattern.
A spread out way. Thank you for correcting me, Joe, on my show.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, so
I can't correct you, but you want me to help you. With
I want you to correct me. I'm just busting your balls.
Okay, so the bottom line is, I'm going to have to shave that area where the transplants are going to be put in.
Well, that can be a problem, and that is the downside of having, for most people, having a hair transplant. Now, on Dr. Dower's side, I will tell you that he is incredibly experienced doing long hair transplants. He will be able to extract the hairs and get really good grafts and implant them without having, in between your existing hair, without having to shave your head. So that's a plus as far as that's concerned. But you kind of have to weigh the long-term results. Do you want to have better long-term results, or the potential for better long-term results? Then you might be a better candidate for strip. So my advice would be to have a couple of more consultations with other physicians.
I've gone there twice, and I feel guilty about. I mean, they'll invite me over another couple of times, but I kind of feel guilty if I just don't do it. I kind of feel like I'm taking advantage of somebody's time if I just don't do it already.
That's bad.
So,
that's a bad way of thinking.
Go back there.
That's a bad way of thinking. No, they work for you. Understand that you're paying them between $10,000 and $15,000 to change your life,
to do a job.
Hopefully, change your life for the better and do a job. If they don't have the patience to speak to you another time, then fuck them.
No, they're really nice with it. I just feel guilty because I've already gone there twice, and I still haven't done anything about it. So I mean, but.
I'm just going to say that I understand. I mean, you seem like a very nice person. That's why you feel guilty about it. But this is for the rest of your life. This is your call. Even if you had to call them 5 more times, you would kind of get an idea of, oh, wait a second, this guy he's acting like I'm wasting his time. You might want to check him off, take him off your short list. But you should have other consultations with other physicians. That's what I'm saying. Take the information that you have now from both Dr. Benham and Dr. Dower and see what a third doctor says or a fourth doctor says. And I'm joking. This way you could really make a better educated assessment of your own situation and say, okay, well, you know what? 2 other doctors agree with Dr. Dower, or 2 other doctors agree with Dr. Benham. And this way you really are able to put things into better perspective.
Can I ask you how many or you may have said this before? Forgive me if you did, but were you or can you tell us the graft estimate? Like how many grafts?
On the sheet here, it says here. It says recommended 1,000. Oh no, here. It says recommended 1,000 grafts to the hairline and 700 grafts to the crown.
And who's that?
Okay.
That's Dr. Dower.
Okay, so it's 1,700 grafts for $15,000. That sounds better. That's a little bit more reasonable.
That's not outrageous. But okay, so my next question has to do with how you wear your hair. Like, do you? Well, first off, is your donor hair something that you, or when I say donor hair, I mean, are the sides and back of your scalp something where you keep long hair, or do you typically have longer hair? And what are your goals for the future as far as your hair? Do you want to keep it long? Do you want to have the option for shorter haircuts in the future? You never know. So, I mean, what is your long-term goal for your the appearance of your hair?
Full length, it's all one length. It's down to my belly button as far as length.
Wow. Okay.
So, but it's like on the top, it's thin on the very top in the crown area. If I part it to the side, you don't notice anything. If it's more towards the middle of the hair, it's right down the center, then I can see some spots that kind of really bother me.
Well, let me ask you this.
Well, I'm also concerned. Hang on. I'm also concerned about the top. The reason I'm asking this is because women in general want to have, it's not just about having long hair, but something that's also considered to be feminine is to have full hair, full and healthy hair. You want it to be lush and not just long, but you want to be able to run your hand through your hair, your fingers through your hair, and you want to feel that it's healthy and full. And one of the things that a lot of people don't think about is when you have an FUE procedure, you're taking out individual follicles and you're removing that hair, and what's in its place is an empty spot. So you're effectively reducing your density of the donor region on a 1-to-1 ratio. Yeah. You're not doing that with a strip surgery because you're taking out the hair and the tissue that supports it. So once that donor area is closed up, you don't have a tangible difference that you can feel in how full your hair is. I've had 7 strips. I can tell you from experience that my hair doesn't feel any thinner after 7 strips than it did after 3 strips.
There's also
strips.
there's also a physical aspect to the weight of your hair. So when you have really long hair, you feel that weight. And what you will notice if you have 1,700 or 2,000 grafts removed, the weight and the swing in the back of your hair is going to change. You know, it may not be significant after one procedure, but it might. To you, it depends on if you feel that weight and if it's something that you are, aware of in your everyday life. And these are things that most doctors aren't going to tell you.
Okay, so I started facial feminization. Okay, and they cut a scar across the front of my forehead, which was ridiculous. You can have this little scar. So then I had the process redone over again. Had somebody else do it, and they made another scar like 3 inches across from ear to ear. And when they cut it across from there, that's where they made their incision. And then they took a piece of strip out from there.
Right.
And they took that and they dissected that, and they did a really nice hairline in the front with it, and they hid that scar really nicely.
Now, how did you get that? Did you fly down to Florida for that?
No, I went to Spain for that.
Okay.
But what they did is they all that little area that they went ahead and created a nice little hairline. All those follicles fell out, and they all came back really nicely.
Good, that's great.
So, okay, but that's because you had no hair there existing. But I don't really. It didn't sound like it did anything in front of that, where it came up to the regular hair, where the scar was above the hair. So, but now I'm trying to get basically that procedure repeated from taking a strip like this from the very back and moving that and bringing it in and kind of like maybe thickening that, like you're saying, thickening it up a bit.
Well, here's the thing. You've already had essentially a reverse brow lift. So basically what they did was they lowered your hairline, right? They moved it forward to create a more feminine hairline. A lot of times that will leave a pretty significant scar. It seems like this doctor in Spain was able to rectify that with the second procedure, and he obviously understood hair transplant surgery, so he was able to then soften or camouflage that scar pretty well, at least in the front hairline. So you're saying that there's a gap between the frontal hairline and your original scar area as well?
No, that's fine.
That's great. Okay.
So now I'm just worried. Now we're just the issues. So
you've already essentially had a peninsula of skin removed from your scalp, and you've gone through that twice, and you understand the process. So, in my view, and again, we're not physicians, but we have to think about this logically. In my view, as a woman, and as someone who's going to essentially wear hair probably longer than an inch in general, you said your hair is down to your belly button. The best next step, and I think a lot of doctors would agree, and again, I'm not a doctor, would have to an actual traditional strip or traditional harvesting from the back of your scalp to be moved into the thinning areas. This will give you more options in the future to cherry pick using FUE, or even to have a second strip if needed without really affecting the donor density in any appreciable way. However, with that said, there's a chance of greater complications every time you cut your scalp open and then suture it together. You have a chance of a stretch back scar or a widening of the scar. But in general, if you're wearing your hair long, unless it's really bad and the hair is very thin, you're never going to see that. If you have good scalp elasticity going into the procedure, as Joe will explain to you maybe in more detail, you have less of a chance of having a stretched scar, especially from a single procedure. The numbers are relatively small for a strip. So if the average assessment of what you need is, say, 1,500 to 2,000 grafts, that's a relatively small strip. So the damage done will be, if in the right hands, will be minimal. Tension for closure will be minimal. It would be a pretty simple procedure as far as removing that donor area. And then you just have to hope that the physician you choose has the right team to sliver and dissect the graft using stereomicroscopic dissection. So if I were you, you know, listen, I'm me, and I'm a dude, but I keep my hair relatively long in the back. My first transplant, if I ever have one, would probably be at this point a strip procedure, because I know that I can move more hair that's going to remain closer to being lifelong hair. It's always going to miniaturize as you get older, but at least from that sweet spot, you can move 100% of hair from that sweet spot. You cannot do that with FUE. You have to kind of go outside of the traditional safe zone with FUE.
Got it.
Joe, does that make sense? Did I say that correctly?
That makes perfect sense.
You're the hair transplant expert here. You've had 10 procedures.
You nailed it. But yeah, I mean, that gets to my general feeling on hair transplantation for women is, you know, the only reason why FUE exists, the only reason, there is no other reason, is to avoid the strip scar, period. It's not because it's a better surgery. Other doctors will argue that. I might get a call from some of the doctors I work with saying, what the fuck are you talking about? No, it's true. That's my opinion based on everything I've seen all over this damn planet of ours. That is why FUE was created. It's not because FUT had any shortcomings with the quality of the work, the naturalness of the outcome. None of that existed, except if, you know, obviously if you went to a bad clinic. But it doesn't make any sense to me for a woman to go in and automatically just start reducing the density of her donor area for a hair transplant when the older method is better.
For a woman,
FUE is touted as being such a great new procedure, but it's not.
For a woman or for a guy like me. Listen, if I came into your clinic, Joe, if I came into your clinic 10 years ago, what would you suggest that I had besides a lobotomy? You'd say, this guy's got pretty decent...
A chill pill.
This guy's got a pretty decent donor, and he has pretty decent, thank God, knock on wood, you know, temporal points. Why would you fuck with that? Why would you thin out that donor if you are wearing your hair over 1 inch or 2 inches long in the back?
Well, first, I would have told you, I would have said, why are you even here?
Because of my
your
paint
derm match
job.
works great.
Yeah.
Let's go drinking. Like that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know, you can live with it. You're fine. But if you wanted a hair transplant, I would have recommended a strip, even today.
Yeah. So, you know, I think Dr. Dower is really great at what he does. And again, he's one of the best in the area. Too. He does great. I mean, this guy's the eyebrow master. He does great long hair FUE. He works on a lot of women. You have to understand, it's called the practice of medicine for a reason, because everyone has their own experiences while they're practicing, and in their hands.
Okay, let me ask you this. Okay, I think he's really good too. Should I come to see you and get an opinion from you?
No, I don't. I'm not a doctor.
Why?
I'm not a doctor, man. That's not what I do.
No, I thought you said that you were also a hair transplant person too.
A hair transplant person in what sense? I wrote the most read volume in the world on surgical hair restoration. That's true, but I did it from a journalistic point of view and from my own research 20 years ago. And this is all we
I've worked in clinics. I started working in clinics 20 years ago, so I do have clinical and surgical experience, but you don't need to come to me or him because we're not doctors. And
okay.
I think the best thing for you is to talk to the doctors you've been talking to again, but also, like Spencer suggested, reach out and find some other doctors. Like, the world is your oyster, and there's no rush to get this done. Find the one that makes sense for you. Dr. Benham is an awesome doctor. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's
Dr.
smart.
Dower, awesome doctor. Love that guy too. I've known them both for several years, and they're really good. But there's others out there too.
Right.
And I want to make this clear. What's your name again?
Tara.
Tara, I want to make this. Tara, I want to make this clear.
Yes.
Do not feel guilty for these people. Trust me. Don't worry about wasting their time. This is what they do. They are physicians, and trust me when I say this. These are both very well heeled, meaning that these guys make a lot of money. Period. Don't worry about these guys. These guys.
Okay, but they're not charging a consultation fee, so I feel kind of guilty.
Don't feel guilty. Oh, you know what? If you really feel guilty, say, you know what? I want to come in again. I don't mind paying a consultation fee. If you really feel guilty, offer to pay a consultation fee. But I guarantee you, if they're not charging a consultation fee, they'll be like, just come on in. It's not a big deal. They're both very nice guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is what they do. They're here. Listen, the only reason that we will work with these guys in any capacity is because they're going to do the right thing. They're part of the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons, not just because they hung up a shingle and said they're hair transplant surgeons. It's because these are two of the best in the industry. Now, they may look at things differently because, again, this is the practice of medicine, but they're not going to throw you on your ass and say, get out of here. You know, they want to help you in any way that they can. So you don't have to necessarily go back to them right away. Our suggestion is go to some other guys and have consultations, just so you can get a better idea. And when you do go back to see either one of them, you're going to have more information at your disposal. Make sense?
Okay, Dr. Dower, he's the only one that's talking about a long hair transplant. The other ones weren't going to do it that way.
Okay. Well,
one thing to keep in mind about long hair, is the great thing about long hair transplantation is you get to see the general result when you walk out the door. But what you may or may not be aware of is that every one of those hairs, or almost all those hairs that are transplanted, in 2 weeks, they're going to be gone, and you'll be back at square one, because all of those are going to shed out and fall. You understand that, right?
Okay, so I do. So when I was in Spain and they did that front hairline transplant, I was spraying distilled water on it every 30 minutes, like 24 hours a day for like 3 days. Dr. Dower was saying something like, "Oh no, I just put Vaseline on it, and that's it."
Yeah, and it does. It really depends on again. It's a practice of medicine for a reason, and it depends on who the person is. I know guys who will tell you to put vitamin E ointment on the back of your scalp or in the front of your scalp. Guys who just say petroleum jelly or Aquaphor, which is kind of like a lanolin-based petroleum jelly as well, or petroleum jelly with like some sort of lanolin in it. And then there are people who are like, you got to saturate your head with saline or other solutions for 3 or 4 days. So there's not all of it's correct. You know, in his practice, this is what gets him the best results. In Sean's practice, he gets the best results by doing it that way. What we're telling you is, and we're going to take another phone call. What we're telling you is this.
Okay, great.
No, I just want to let you know. What we're telling you is this, and really keep this in mind. You can move the most hair from the best possible zone in the donor hair using a strip. You're wearing your hair long. If you decide to have this surgery, if you are a candidate, and we're not saying that you are, that should be a real option in your mind, because you've already had some pretty significant surgeries. I'm assuming that you've healed pretty well. That kind of will give you an indication of how your scalp heals anyway.
Yeah, he'll fine.
Yeah. So, you know, I like Sean's assessment, to be honest, if he's assessing a strip. But I understand Dr. Dower's assessment. Again, I'm not a doctor, because in his hands, you know, he's really good at this. But you have to know that this is not a one-and-done situation. There could be a time, as you get older, that you're going to need more hair. So you want to preserve that donor in the most pristine fashion as possible. I want you to think about that, all right?
Okay, let me just say this really fast, because this is what made me call you in the first place. The last 2 years I've been using Minoxidil just because I looked at it as just like using a vitamin. Now it sounds like that maybe that wasn't a good idea to be using that stuff.
Well, because of what you heard us say earlier?
Yeah, I don't want to destroy this.
Well, here's the thing. Right now you're on it. So you can end up, once you stop using it, you can end up going through a tremendous telogen effluvium. So if you saved any hair while you were on that, if you had any results while you were on that, if you stop using it now without really tapering, and it could take a year or more to taper off of that drug, you can go through a major shed and that's going to fuck you up emotionally. So, it's only been a couple of years. It probably really hasn't affected your scalp adversely at this point. But you could also ask the doctors about that and just see. But I wouldn't, you're on it. If you're doing well with it, I wouldn't fuck with it. I'm not a doctor, but that's just based on my experience. That would be the best recommendation.
Cool.
All right. Good luck. Good talking to
you. Thank you.
And let us know how you do, all right?
Thanks for calling in.
Back.
I will.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. It still amazes me. And, Tara was, it was a great call. It's an interesting call to me because of the different procedures she's already had. But it amazes me how difficult it is for people to get this information. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It doesn't you can't find it online, and I'm not just patting ourselves on the back. I think about it when I'm providing, my insights, and when you're providing your insights, it's like, how do people not know this stuff? But it's impossible, you can't get it.
And it reminds me, like I had an idea a week ago when I was brainstorming on new video ideas. I need to make this video about shock loss because I've talked about it on my website. I got in my glossary, I got the different kinds of shock loss listed out. But I need to make a video about this because it is a deep subject. There's so many things that people don't know. It's like, oh, shock loss. What the fuck does that even mean? No one knows.
Well, it's always completely glossed over.
Multiple explanations.
And I'm gonna
give
myself a little credit for this. I don't know why I feel the need to do this. Maybe I'm feeling insecure today. But 25 years ago, I coined the phrase shock loss, and it was fucking taken by a New York physician. I think I told you that. Didn't I tell you that?
I think you did, yes.
It's in writing. It's out there. But
I coined the phrase BHT.
You did.
I did. I was the first one to call body hair transplants BHT. I coined an abbreviation. A common sense, logical abbreviation. I was the first to use it.
Okay. IownedFUE.com.
Well, okay.
Let's take a phone call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hello?
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, Mike. It's Mike in NYC.
Mike from New York. How are you, man?
Hello, Mike.
I'm doing good. How are you guys been? Long time. Have you been? I know you're off. Last week's show was really good.
Oh, thanks, man. How's your crumbling city doing?
Thank you.
Well, it's funny because last week you were making it sound like California is still in like April 2020. Over here, you could basically do whatever you want. I mean, you still got the masks right now, but like you were saying, like. What was the deal? Like, kind of like there's like one bar where people still congregate, or it's like what's going on over there?
Well, I'll tell you what I have noticed is, and it's actually chilling when I see this. So I guess there's a much smaller population of people of color and African Americans, for instance, who have not gotten vaccinated. So when you go by restaurants. It's crazy. I mean, it's like in 1954. You go by restaurants, the people who are sitting outside are people of color, and everyone inside is white.
Yeah.
There's segregation now in Los Angeles.
I hate all that stuff.
It's fucking
bad.
insane.
I want to go. Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Touch that.
Well. Listen, it is what it is. I think it's horrible what's been forced upon so many people in the city.
Well, hopefully somebody can get in trouble like the Boris Johnson guy did. Then they could just lift all this stuff.
Well, and unfortunately, there was a really horrifying
That's what it takes.
murder in a really nice neighborhood here in Los Angeles of a 24-year-old UCLA grad student you may have read about. Homeless guy walks into the store, and there's a really, they always say high-end, but it is a high-end furniture store in a very high-end area with all these cool stores. And guy just walks in, stabs her to death, and leaves. That's it. Like business as usual in Los Angeles now. So
wow,
she may be becoming sadly an example, or I guess what's the term? Something that will potentially be a catalyst to affect change.
An example. Or a spark that'll help start helping things.
Symbol,
Yeah.
A symbol of a true symbol of change of what is happening to our nation and what's happening to some of the greatest cities in the country.
Unreal. But on that note.
Yeah. What's up?
All right. So I just wanted to pass along some information, and I also have one question. But first, I don't know if you guys know about this, but so there's like a company now called Hers, but it's like a spin-off of Hims. I guess it's the same thing, right?
It's the same company, yeah.
Right, yeah. So they're starting to have commercials now. And the other day, I couldn't believe it. There was a commercial for Hers.
Jennifer Lopez.
There's a yes. I was going to say there's a very well-known celebrity.
They were trying to get me, but they couldn't afford me, so they went for her.
Yeah, she's just rubbing Rogaine or Minoxidil foam right on her head, saying it helps. And like that's such a great thing.
Spencer's not a woman.
That's true.
That helps
for now. You never know.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, well, she's been a celebrity endorser of the company for a long time. So,
just to me.
Yeah, but I mean that company just they took the field. They took the field. Now, this is what I always say in general. If you see a celebrity endorsing any hair loss product, you probably don't want to go in that direction. But the thing is, at least in her case, she's supporting and promoting FDA-approved products. But it's still the whole thing still really makes me uncomfortable.
You don't think that would be that's just like a good thing for women's hair loss overall? That these girls, women, it's such a difficult thing more than men like to talk about, and they see that, it kind of makes them feel like, I could take action now, stuff like that.
You would think so, but the products that they're, we do know that, and listen, it's an FDA-approved product. It can work, but in many cases, minoxidil products, whether they're generic or they are, or if it was brand name. A lot of these products really have to be compounded in a very special way so that people don't have in some cases follicular fibrosis, really bad dermatological issues and inflammatory issues. So this is just kind of like another one-size-fits-all situation. And for most women, minoxidil has a very, and again, this is my opinion based on 25 years of experience, and writing the book on it, has a very minimal effect. And the supplements and stuff like that I'm seeing that are being promoted by some of these companies, they could be questionable. We don't know if they're standardized extracts. I mean, there's a lot of things. Now, I think it's great that it's bringing awareness to the subject, and I think that some women will be helped. But do I think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, or if it's going to change women's hair loss? I do not.
Right.
But it's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's they got that marketing down, it looks like. But anyway, my question is, and I don't know if Joe or both of you, but there's so my endless research about transplants, I wanted to talk about something that doesn't seem to get spoken about or mentioned too much. That I noticed in some of these videos when they do these close-ups with the hairline comb-throughs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? So obviously you got the singles in the front, which is the way it's supposed to be, but one thing that I see a lot, and I'm kind of nervous for myself a little bit with this, they'll start loading up on the multiple unit grafts right away, right past this thin area of singles, and they'll become noticeable so much that it does catch your eye, and looks a little off. Like, is that considered like an error of sort on the surgeon, or is that just the way it is and we don't really like notice?
Who's they when you say they do this?
Whoever the surgeons that perform the surgeries in these videos that I watch, comb throughs.
Well, like who? Like, give me some examples.
Oh no, I really don't know in particular. I'm just talking something I've noticed here and there on YouTube or Instagram. Okay. You know, whatever. Maybe more more than coming out of Turkey than the U.S.
Well,
I don't know.
Okay. Well, one thing about videos coming out of Turkey, the majority of them, you won't see single hair grafts in the front when they're doing their comb throughs. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
There are a small subset of doctors where you will see that, like Asmed, Dr. Beiser, who else? I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head. But that's those videos. Yeah, you'll see singles in the hairline. But in general, Turkey, no, you won't see singles in the hairline. But other clinics outside of Turkey or more, we'll call them more refined clinics. Aside from the ones I mentioned, you'll see singles in the front, but you know every patient is different. Where the doubles or triples or whatever they're putting behind the hairline, it's still a surgery where it's not Mother Nature putting it there, and so it doesn't work perfectly every time to have that graduated stepping up from singles to doubles to triples, so on and so forth. But it could also be just a matter of you're just too damn educated to let this slide, right? Your eye might be good enough to where you're like, yeah, okay, well, that kind of looks like a hair transplant. Number one, because you're educated and you can pick these out. But number two, you're already looking at a hair transplant, so you know it's a hair transplant. So there's no guessing involved, right? So that kind of takes some of that away. And that's just common sense. But
if you were to go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say there are clinics that are really good at that, and they can differentiate from patient to patient where it makes sense to have the multi-hair grafts close up to the singles in the front, and those that are better with the multi-hair grafts placed further back. And part of this comes down to the desire to create the soft hairline. What's the transition zone? Sorry, that people have been talking about for years. Patients like to talk about that a lot. Will I have a soft transition zone? Sometimes you can't have that, no matter how many singles you put in the front, because the hair itself just looks pluggy, even if it's a single hair graft, because of how coarse it is, or because of the contrast between hair color and scalp color. You just can't get around it. And in fact, one of the tricks that better hairline surgeons will do is when there is a high contrast between hair color and scalp color, and or the hair is more coarse, they will actually bring those multi-hair grafts right up to behind those single hair grafts and not try to make a soft transition zone. That actually makes it look more natural if it's done the right way. I mean, that's a general overview. But yeah, I mean, you can make it look natural by doing that. And in fact, it's preferred as opposed to having a bunch of singles in the front too deep, trying to create that transition zone that doesn't exist actually on a lot of people. So,
yeah.
I think a lot of what you're seeing is just those two factors where you got a good eye, but you also know it's a hair transplant because it's obviously being presented as a hair transplant.
Yeah. Well, for me, I have the ultimate contrast as far as dark hair and light skin, so that's why it's been a thing. Also, I kind of picked up and noticed, and think, oh, this could be an issue for me. Whereas somebody with
you're going to notice that you're going to notice all the exclamation point hairs. Then you're going to notice things that no one else is going to notice. I mean, if you look at a completely full, thick, natural hairline, there is there's a tapering transition from the scalp up into the full visible terminal hair, And sometimes there's actually a pigment transition where the hair, while the pigment is essentially growing from underneath the scalp into the hair shaft, there's a slight lightening to the very base right at your scalp compared to the full color of your hair. That is what makes the transplant of hair from a thicker type of hair from the back of your head to the front a little bit more difficult to look 100% natural, because as soon as you implant that darkness goes directly down to your scalp, and that's the way it continues to grow. And usually it has kind of like almost like an exclamation point look to it if you look close enough. So anyone, if I go, like right now you're looking at Joe's hairline on camera, if any normal person looked at Joe, they would never think he had anything done. But if I were to look closely, like you're going to look at yourself in the mirror, you're going to see those exclamation point hairs. You're going to see a slight stalkiness that's not stalky at all. I mean, it's 100% natural as far as a hair transplant goes, but you're going to see things that no one else is going to see. And if you have a very significant contrast between your scalp and hair, you're going to see it on yourself more than you might like in the end.
Yeah.
So that's something you need to keep in mind. I mean, I know that you told me that, I think the last time we spoke, you said you were going to move forward with a transplant.
Oh, yeah, I'm going late May 2022, so I'm just trying to cover everything left that there is to cover before I know what to expect as far as, like I know I'm still going to be that guy that kind of like nitpicks and all that, but I also have a realistic, I just want you to know so you don't worry about me, a realistic expectation,
I'm glad, because you're going to look, when you look at yourself, you're going to look to yourself like you had a hair transplant. It could be like, wow, this is a really good hair transplant, so no one else will notice. But you just have to be aware of that.
Right. Well, that's what I'm hoping, yeah.
When I look at myself, sometimes I will paint a little bit behind the hairline, especially if I think the camera's going to be really close up. Not on the show, but like if I do television or something. But if you look really close, you can kind of, if I pull the flap up, you can see through it. It's just it's my reality.
The flap.
But
shit.
It's all an illusion, and that's the thing. You just have to be comfortable with that illusion.
And that's
Mike,
fine, right? For me,
I want to circle back to what I was saying earlier about these videos. The other reason why you're seeing this, it could be just bad work. Like, I don't know who you're talking about. So some of these cases could just be bad, a lack of artistry, a lack of understanding of what they're doing. So it's more. It could be more than just you having a good eye and knowing it's a hair transplant because it's being presented as one. It could just be shoddy work. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I'm not seeing this from videos or photos from guys like Doran or Bernstein, if that makes sense. I'm seeing this from like these random Instagram videos that pop up coming from wherever. More than likely to
on Instagram.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, very few clinics I've seen on Instagram are going to look good with their comb throughs. And to be honest with you, I think they're all IHRS members to begin with. Like Dr. Christopher Verona, he's got a killer Instagram presence. Like he's got a great program going on, and he's a great doctor. Like I love his work, and it looks fantastic. But then you see other guys like that place in Turkey I was talking about a few episodes ago, where that broad's walking around in the high heels and the 2-inch fingernails and a mask, acting as if she's supervising something. It's like, seriously? Yeah, no, that doesn't fly. So that's a great thing about Instagram. It's a great equalizer. It's like, if you're a hole in the wall clinic that's working in a cave, or you're the best clinic in the world, you have the same platform to present your work. And it's up to the audience to understand what they're looking at. But unfortunately, most of them don't. They just see a wall of hair and they think thick as fuck, and that's all that matters to them, and so they go, and they save some money. So don't get me on a rant, man, because I'll go there.
Oh, yeah, I hear you. That's the problem right now. And then they go, and then they realize, I got whatever, 2,200 grafts in my frontal third, and I'm not happy with the density. It's like, you got 2,200 grafts in your frontal third when you have slick bald, that's why, you know. So they just see the hair and they see the videos and they do whatever, a few weeks of research, and it's a shame, but that's what's going on out there a lot of days now.
I saw a pretty popular. He's kind of known for his plastic surgery journey, and he has a pretty popular presence on Instagram, and he followed me a while back, and so I decided to follow him back and, you know, look at his stuff. And he went to, this guy took a friend of his, I don't know if it's his boyfriend or just, you know, his boy, you know, someone he hangs out with, to Turkey to have a hair transplant. And I'm just like, holy shit, yo. I mean, you should know better. This guy's had so many plastic surgery procedures, it's insane. He's been on all kinds of television shows and whatever. And I see this guy, and, you know, I'm praying for this guy that everything turns out okay. But, you know, it's, there's a chance that it won't. And, you know, this guy has access, the guy that, the influencer has access to every great doctor here in Los Angeles. And I just don't know why he couldn't somehow make a deal for his friend to have that hair transplant here. And what made them choose to go to Turkey. That was my only question. So it's almost like it doesn't even matter how much people know or think they know. It doesn't matter what, you know, if they're any part of the mainstream or part of the mainstream media, they're still lost. And I just don't know why that is. And I just went off on a rant, but, you know, it's frustrating because it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I told you about the guy here, you know, where the studio is. Very well-heeled guy, multimillionaire, and he's like, "Yeah, I hear the best place to get a hair transplant is in Turkey." I'm like, "Motherfucker, they got you too." Everyone's captured.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Floyd Mayweather didn't help, I don't think. Because then I think he won.
It didn't help, but I think he actually lucked out.
Well, look at the video I made several weeks back about Greg Doucette, the fitness guy. Like, he's on his channel. Like, he preaches research. He talks about all the hypocrisy in his own industry, and then he gets some sort of deal from a from a clinic in Turkey. He hops his happy ass on a plane and flies to Turkey, documents it, doesn't show the doctor once because the doctor there's a doctor, but he's a joke, and then says, "I don't care about my hair. I'm just doing it because my girlfriend was going to do it." It's reasons like this. It's jerk offs like that says, "I'm not advertising. You do you. Meanwhile, I'm going to show you how great it is here and how awesome of a time and how great they treat you." It's like, that's the bullshit that everyone's dealing with, and that's what gets people to think that they can have a dream.
I would like to just put out a disclaimer that I don't even know who this guy is. The Bald Truth does not necessarily support the statements of Joseph Tillman.
Neither agree nor disagree.
Yeah, but the reality is I don't even know if he, you know, it's the point where hair transplant surgery is looked at as such a nothing procedure that I don't think these guys even know that they might be providing dangerous information to others. I think they just think, wait a second, this is great. Look at me now. I didn't have a hairline before. Now I have this red swollen hairline. And I guess this is the way the hair is going to grow. They think it's going to grow in like a beard. It's all going to grow in the right direction. I don't think this poor guy even knows. And you know what? It's possible he's going to have a decent result, or at least the result that he's happy with.
Could be.
You know?
But that completely...
Crazy.
It completely invalidates... wait, what am I trying to say?
Invalidates
Doesn't matter. Anyway.
The point that he makes on his own channel about doing your due diligence.
There you go. Yes,
I get that. I get that. Yeah. So you're basically calling this guy who you don't even know a hypocrite.
100%.
Come on! It was a good video.
What else you got?
Yeah. Well, thank
you.
Thank you both, and I've been enjoying the show, and I look forward to the rest of it, 2022. I'll be keeping up.
All right, man. Listen, good luck, man.
Thank you.
Stay in touch.
Thank you. All right, guys. Have a good weekend.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay, I'm going to turn off the phones. That's it. Show's done.
I got to go.
We did a full 2 hours.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Let Joe give out the website. And you can do it short, Joe. You don't have to make this. Do it short. Give them out. And, you know, do it.
Well, first off, let's in the spirit of the title of today's episode, the top 25. Let's do a shout out to apetogentleman.com for having this top 25 like they do every year. I think it's a fun read, so go check it out. apetogentleman.com. Which was written by our colleague Spencer Speck Stevenson, who's co-host of the Bald Truth UK. Props to him for doing that, and congratulations on another great article. The main websites are baldtruthtalk.com, the world's most trafficked hair loss and hair restoration forum. Even though we say stay off the forums, it's a great resource because it's moderated like crazy. Like, you don't... I'm not going to get too far down this rabbit hole. In fact, I won't even touch it. Just if you want a good, reliable forum, there is baldtruthtalk.com. And of course, safe place to start for your research when it comes to hair restoration doctors, International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. That's IAHRS.org. And if you've ever wondered what the most referenced resource on the planet is when it comes to hair loss and hair restoration, that, my friends, will be the American Hair Loss Association. Which can be found at AmericanHairLoss.org. I think I got that right. If you're listening to this podcast on any of the resources, this is originally being broadcast on my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/hairtransplantmentor. And my personal website where you can see my journey and all the surgeries I've been through, as well as doctors I work with, and the world's largest hair loss and hair restoration glossary. Still true in 2022, hairtransplantmentor.com. Back to you, Spence.
Good job, my man.
Thank you.
I just want to make this clear to all the physicians out there, especially the halfwit that contacted me 3 years ago, who is out of his fucking mind, this guy from Ohio, out of his mind that there was a top 25 list of IAHRS members and why he wasn't on this list. And I had to explain to him that I didn't write that article. My name is Spencer Kobren, Kobren, from the United States. The person you may want to contact is a guy by the name of Spencer Stevenson, also known as Specs.
Stevenson.
So before you make a fucking stink about something, read the fucking byline. Just want to put it out there.
You say that as if you expect them to know what a byline is.
That's true. So if there's any other members out there of our organization who's like, why, how come I didn't meet this list? I have nothing to do with it. This guy, who happens to be the co-host of the Bald Truth UK as well, but has his own thing going in the UK, happens to trust, in general, only IAHRS members. I think he has one non-IAHRS member on that list. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's really the general tenor of the field, at least any of the true experts in the field. Guys like Joe Tillman. Who does he look to work with? He only goes to the IAHRS. It's not because of me.
Yep.
And the bottom line is he wants good business for himself. He wants to provide his end users with the best possible chance of not getting fucked up. Mm-hmm. We've done the research. He's known the IAHRS for 20 years. He knows that this is a safe place to start. And this is where the smart guys go if they're going to make their own fucking lists. That's it. I got nothing to do with it. I had to put that out there.
Well said.
Because it's just the truth. I
kind of wish he didn't. No. I kind of wish he didn't, because it means more idiots are going to start complaining and we get to have more fun with it.
That's true. That's true.
That's okay. You know what? There'll still be idiots that complain about it, so it's okay.
Yeah. But anyway, guys, it's a great resource. It's a great article as far as getting your basic, understanding of this field. And there are many more doctors than 25 who are doing great work. All you have to do, like Joe said, is go to IAHRS.org, and at least your starting point is the safest starting point, in my view, in the industry. And we're going into our 21st year, which is pretty insane, actually.
It is, yeah.
Let me tell you something. The ISHRS did not expect that one. They did not expect that. First 6 months, they try to shut that shit down. And for years, they've still been trying. Well, not the organization itself, certain members of the organization, the politicians in the organization, so-called leaders of the organization. And they keep trying and trying, and they try to do a global hair loss summit. And guess what? Major magazine, financial magazine, is going to be picking up something about global hair loss summit because for some reason, it was the most successful hair transplant conference in the history of this field. And it's not just because of me or because of Joe. Well, maybe it is. But.
Well, maybe it is.
Yeah. But it's really, its time has come. That's it. So anyway, we can go on forever. Miss doing the show, by the way, Joe. I'm glad we're back. But I know you got to run.
Me too.
Guys, until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you so much for listening. Take care.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the programme, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid.